Welcome back. In this video, we are going to take a deeper look into a little bit more complicated data structures that we could use in R. And we will start with vectors. Vectors are just a list of numbers or texts or logical values that we can keep in a variable. Right? It's going to be keeping a list instead of a single like A, B, C, T, X, capital X, and Y variable, because these variables are keeping only a single value. If you keep more than one value in a variable, we call them vectors, right? That's what we do in R. Just a quick tip on this global environment section of R. So if you think that those are so crowded and you are no longer in need of these variables, you can come over here and then click on this sweeping object. And what it does is it clears out all these variables. But be careful, if you click them, click on it, once these objects are removed from here, those are also removed from the memory. Let's assume that you created them here and then you are planning to use them somewhere here down there, but you cleared them. All you have to do is to reclaim them by running the same code, right? So let me do that here. So once I click this sweep object, it asks me, are you sure you want to remove all objects from the environment? This operation cannot be undone. I will just click yes. And it is not going to, my R, for example, is not going to, for example, if I type X in console and hit enter, it says object X not found because I removed it from my library, right? What I will do is I will just select the entire chunk of code that I executed before, right? And then I hit command and enter. What it does is now it goes back and runs all these bunch of lines and then create the variables that I just removed. All right, this is something that you could do as a practice. All right, let's keep going with the vectors. Vectors can be created with the C or combine function. So C, open the parentheses with multiple number of items that you can put in. Those have the values that you put in the C and in parentheses, they have to be the same type of objects. When I say objects, for example, 1 is one object, 2 is another one, 3 is another one, but those are all numbers. Let's execute this line and see what it returns to us. Right? It creates a capital X as a vector, and then it is going to take on the numbers from 1, 2, and 3. So this 1 and 3, it indicates that no, it has values from 1, location 2, and location 3. And let's try to display the value of X vector. You see that now console gives me 1, 2, 3, the values that I just created here. All right. So C is the keyword. C is the combining function of the values that you enter into vector, and it converts it into vector. All right. So if you like to look for help in R, all you have to do is to type help. And let's say that we are looking for help on the combine function. Let's run this line. And then R is going to bring us the help menu here on the top right. And then let's maximize it a little bit. So it basically tells us that the C function combine values into a vector or list. And then you could see the usage of it. You could see what comes into it. You could see the default selections. You could also see at the very bottom some examples. You could see that there is a bunch of different use of C, and you could definitely take a look at it on your own time. All right, let me minimize it back. And if you would like to go back to the main help menu, you can click on this home button and you can go back. All right. So as I said, so X right now is a numerical vector, and you could do a string vector, like in this case, Y is going to take up 1 through 3, but in string objects. So if you execute this line, you see that Y is actually a character vector, and its values are 1, 2, and 3. Actually, I meant to display Y here, so let me change it here. So you see that 1, 2, 3 are the elements of vector Y. And this is going to be very useful because sometimes you are just not really in need of defining simple variable with one value, and you are in need of vectors for sure, right? You could also create a Boolean or logical vectors, like in this case, Z. I'm hitting command and return. If you're using a Windows, you should be entering command and enter, right? So as in this case, it is also a vector with logical values. So let's assume that we are keeping grades in a vector, and these are 5 students exam scores. Again, let's execute it. You see that the grades are created here. It has 5 values, and you would like to display it. Then display it by entering the name of the vector. It is grades, and hit command and return. It returns the values here under console. And let's assume that you would like to reach out to a specific value in a in a vector, and all you have to do is to use the square brackets. And for example, you type grades. Grades has list of 5 different grades for 5 different students, right? And then if you type the name of the vector grades and open the square brackets and then enter, for example, 1 is in the index of the first student grade, right? And it's going to recall 98, right? So let's do that. Let's execute this code. You see that it is going to go ahead and reach out to the first value that you keep in grades. Similarly, second value. And so this operation 3 to 5 in square brackets are going to return you the grade of the third person, fourth person, and fifth person. It is going to be 75, 81, and 88. Okay. And then you can definitely manipulate. You can change this to 2 to 4, for example. It should still work, right? It's going to call for the values of the second student's grade, third one, and the fourth one. Okay. Let me change it back to 3 to 5. Okay, on the next video, we are going to see a little bit more complicated and sophisticated, but yet very useful data structure called R's data frames. And then you will see that it's going to be a collection of vectors that we just used.